ATTENHUT Private. This is the War on Comics. I'm Colin.
I'm Omar.
We're deep in the swamps, baby. Volume 4 of 6 of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run. Treading through it.
Just heading through those Louisiana swamps and a couple other places.
Yeah, we're international style on this one. This is a really good volume.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel the fatigue a little as we get to the end.
Yeah.
Can't lie. You know, it's a lot of, it's not like a walk in the park getting through 6 volumes of kind of a singular-minded run like this, month-to-month publishing. But still, a lot of meat on the bones. It has to be read.
After this issue, I was feeling the fatigue on the third one a little bit because they have to fill those 24 pages or whatever,
Month to month.
So you feel it in some issues, but there's a lot of payoff in this one.
Yeah, and I think it's like workhorse Alan Moore. Okay. You know, it's Alan Moore at a point in his career where he was not too good to do a month-to-month title. Right. You know, juice the stats with some Batman stuff, have it crossover with the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Like, this is a humble Alan Moore, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and he does not slack. He's delivering goods. These are still, like, maybe by Alan Moore standards, not his best work, but still 1986, 1987 going to be some of the best comics on the shelf, I would say.
And actually I was going to ask you about if I could get a filler on the Crisis era.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's something that I love DC and I love all the stuff that they did. I'm admittedly much more of a Marvel guy from that era. So I really don't know a lot about that time.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll get into it as we get into it. But yeah, it's just interesting to think of like prestige writers like Alan Moore, was that kind of name, still having to deal with like editorial demands. You know, like, hey, all the characters are getting together in the playpen and playing around. I don't give a fuck what you do in this swamp, but like, you got to acknowledge that this world-ending situation is happening.
We'll probably get into it.
But either way, trudging through it. Let's go. Swamp Thing, Volume 4.
Guys.
Okay, Volume 4. Starting out with a forward from Bissett, I believe.
This, I think the Bissett was the last issue. This one was the...
Gee, did I just power through that then?
Well, this was
Neil Gaiman. Okay. You get anything out of that one?
Not really. He just kind of... I don't know.
Gaiman be talking, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, I guess we skipped that one. But a really good standalone issue, I think, leading off this section. This is the one where this hippie guy...
Oh, yeah.
So we got kind of, what do they call it? Drip fed the yam, the psychedelic yam gimmick at the end of Volume 2. And old Swampy and Abigail kind of did their trippy merge thing here.
Yeah.
And so the question is, well, what if some stranger gets a hold of it? And that's kind of what this single issue dives into. Really well done, I thought. Yeah. This is some Watchmen layout here stuff here where Definitely. It's like, you know, you go piece by piece with a single focus on the foreground. Essentially, this guy who's kind of just trolling the swamps looking for various substances suspects that this might have something to it, you know? And so he's just kind of gives it to different people. This guy's got an ailing wife. This guy's just a general scumbag.
Yeah.
And now I forgot, does he take one himself?
I don't know. You know what? He chickens out at the end, actually.
Okay, so there's 3 little chunks of it.
Yeah.
The ailing, terminally ill girl kind of goes on this, like, you know, one with the universe trip. The scumbag is, you know, being tortured.
Yeah, he's basically in hell. He's seeing the opposite end of that.
Yeah, and our girl here is in this kind of Nirvana situation.
Yeah.
And I guess the premise is that the yams kind of deliver whatever the person
Right.
has inside of them. Brings out the best or the worst vision. Very kind of reinforcing these psychedelics concept, right?
Right. This
And
part, I just finished reading this, so I remember this, and this
yeah,
ties in directly to the final page, I think.
yeah, it's a classic. He's coming to bitch at him because his friend got set on fire. He felt like he was going to die, and then of course he wants something himself.
Such a jerk.
Classic. And at the end of the day, our hippie friend maybe doubts his own internal qualities and lets it be. Great filler issue, great structure.
Yeah.
I feel like definitely has shades of like what would come with Sandman, because that whole series is filled with like issues where the Sandman
Right.
is seen in a mirror or something.
Whoa, yeah.
Doesn't have to be massively present.
It just takes place in
Yes.
the world.
Yes, and so I guess this is the issue where they're addressing that we don't need to have Swamp Thing going on an adventure every issue, even if the next one we start out with a big Swamp Thing on the American flag. This is also kind of a standalone one, if I'm not mistaken. I think it kind of gets into like a serial killer going through the swamp. Am I crazy?
No, that's exactly it. Yeah, we go through this issue after this kind of setup, like through his POV.
Yes, through the eyes of a killer.
And it's dark, but we get a Batman.
Yes, it's just popping in a little cameo again. As we said, the Crisis on Infinite Earths is going on right now, so there's this whole cross DC event going on with every character. So they have to do something, and this is the most Alan Moore will give you. This is his conceit. The main focus, though, is on this serial killer who's done his gruesome acts.
Right.
Watch Friday the 13th for the final chapter in the movie theater the other day.
Oh, sick!
I think it's because it was like Friday the 13th.
Fuck yeah!
And I don't know. I guess this kind of has shades of that like slasher mania that was in the 80s. It was so popular, and I think maybe Alan Moore couldn't resist making some sort of connection in his comics, with this savage killer guy, but inevitably he's on the Swamp Thing's turf, and he's not. Swamp Thing doesn't take too kindly to that kind of behavior. It's a great Swamp Thing right there with the big long slobber knockers.
A Fu Manchu vibe.
Yeah, and needless to say, the serial killer doesn't make it out of the swamp. And I forgot what why we're ending on Abigail here.
I think she gets a call from Constantine.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Telling him the Swamp Thing to get through.
Yeah.
This is he's really banging out like good conceptual single issues here.
Yeah.
This is, I think, is it the Westminster House? Is the real one?
Yes, that's the yes.
And they come up with some variation on Westminster rifles.
Winchester?
Winchester is our house, is the one in the real world, right?
Right.
And
this one's a little different.
Yes, I forgot the fake name they give it, but
I love this, by the way, just as a side note.
Total Will Eisner.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. This whole top-down view and Swamp Thing here. It was, I love that nod.
Fill in artists, but they're really getting it done. Also, again, a very kind of slasher horror movie feel with like everyone going into the house and
kind of the setup and dynamics, right? Too, of like there's like the two couples that go in, and then like there's on the opposite ends, like these two are like seeing, like, they're salacious in some way, where these guys are a little more not meek, but what would you say? They're kind of like
proper, I guess.
Yeah, right.
And ultimately, this house is this like, they had to keep the madness and mania was that they had to keep building and building onto this house. So it's this labyrinth of sorts because the house is haunted by the people that made the rifles.
Yeah.
So there is some again, intersectionality of gun control, or
Mm.
just the America's obsession with guns. That's sort of the basis for why the house is haunted. So even when he's doing like essentially a really simple one-off monster of the week story, there's still kind of some commentary on what it is to be American, and of course all the
Yeah.
bisons killed by these rifles. They're haunted by those ghosts too,
Yeah.
which is just, you know, ways to we're coming up with ways to pick all these people off one by one, really for no good reason, you know.
We don't know these people, but it almost seems like they carry the weight of. I mean, they went here willingly,
Right. Yeah, and
right?
they're not malicious necessarily,
Right.
but still, you know, it's like you want to go see all the horrors, and then you get all the horrors, of course.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just a real, very simple story, but like so satisfying. Like the coloring on these ghouls is like
Yeah.
perfect EC style, you know.
Really good send up to that kind of style of storytelling too.
Absolutely,
With
you know.
this kind of like at the end, the Christian guy who the whole time was, you know, hey guys, we should probably hold up. We should probably, you know, wait. But then he goes and buys this rifle
Right.
to off his cheating wife, I guess. So it's
yeah, the violence of guns kind of
Yeah.
continues. All right, here's our very, I guess I feel like under duress, our Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. So Crisis on Infinite Earths.
yeah.
I've read the collected edition, which is like, I want to say 12, 13 issues. It's all done. The art's all done by George Perez.
Oh, nice.
And oh man, I'm losing my mind if I can't. I want to say like Shooting from the Hip. Don't hold my feet to the fire here. I think it's Len Wein was the writer. But maybe I'm just thinking of his name because he's in all these Swamp Thing issues as the creator of Swamp Thing. I don't know. But either way, it's a great premise, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and kind of came about because essentially DC had too much shit going on. DC themselves were something of a Westminster house where they just kept building and building and adding, you know, the Charleston characters and the characters from this timeline and that timeline.
Okay.
And so Crisis was their way of saying, well, instead of having these characters exist on this Earth or planet or dimension, and these Golden Age characters existing on this dimension, and this version of the Flash existing over here, and these guys over there, they're like, we're merging them all together. And this is in the mid 80s, so it was a pretty big event. And it's really sucks you in, the story. It's convoluted, it's deep lore, it's nerd shit. I feel like the indie comics fan in you would be repelled, you know, by such a thing. But if you have just like a little bit of teenage boy in you, it's so exciting. It starts with this character, Pariah, who's like, his whole thing is he has to just witness the death of worlds. So he's just on the verge of madness. He shows,
fucking Christ.
You know, like it's kind of a play on Silver Surfer in a way. The Silver Surfer shows up and he's like, "Yep, Galactus, come down here. This is the place." Pariah is like, "Oh my God, this place is dying." He witnesses it die, and then he gets sucked into the next place it's dying.
Holy shit!
And so he gets to the mainline DC place and is like, "Listen, I've seen all this shit happen. We got to figure something out." And essentially, they figure out all this merging stuff, and I really like the story. I think it's, for like a big event, I think it's kind of the benchmark of what you would want to hit, you know. And like Marvel, I think at the time, of course, it was probably to go against like the Secret Wars crossover that Marvel had. Secret Wars is dumb.
It's very I don't like it.
I mean, it's Saturday morning cartoons. I can get into it. I would be lying if I said I didn't like it to some degree, but it's not like good comics. I would say that Crisis has a little bit more intellectually to chomp on. Maybe it's just more like sci-fi or something than having, you know, just all the toys play together.
I was gonna say it's not just a money grab. They probably put some more extra.
And I'm not opposed to toy grabs. I think
Right.
all the He-Mans and the GI Joes
Yeah.
of it all. Like I'm the age where I was raised on all that stuff, so I appreciate stuff from the ground up, built to be toy commercials. I think we kind of lost something as a society when we
Yeah.
got away from that, if anything. But regardless, Crisis isn't necessarily that. However, they do have, because it's so going on in every title, they have to sort of acknowledge it in Swamp Thing,
Yeah.
and I would say they do as much as they have to.
So they kind of just put him there.
Right.
It's kind of the thing. But this just seemed super Watchmen to me.
Yeah, the
At the
whole
end.
I guess like that, just that complex interior, right?
And I gotta say, the Sting aspect of this did
Yeah,
it kind of helped me, like,
give him a voice or something, or
yeah,
yeah,
throughout all this. He does seem like a very snarky Englishman.
yeah. Here's our I forget. I think there's
Alex Luthor
if
or
I'm not
something.
mistaken. I hope I'm not getting my crossovers mixed up, but I think there was like some dimension where Lex Luthor is the only hero and everyone else is a villain. I might be. I hope I'm not
Whoa.
confusing that with another
I
crossover,
would
but I
actually want
think
to
this is
read
our
that.
hero, Lex. No, it's a super good read, and George Perez I have really high on my list of just top
Yeah.
quality mainstream comics artists. He's about as good as it gets.
So is this a Commandy world that they're kind of building in here?
Something like that,
Because
or
I love that.
yeah, you just get to show all these weird alternate universes and strange different dimensions. And ultimately, yeah, I think it's just an editorial thing. Like, hey, acknowledge that this is happening. Fucking
Right.
all right.
Yeah, because it's just those 4 pages or something like that.
Yeah, and we get to travel through all the different what do you call it? Swamp Thing adventures with all the vampires and all that, and he's sort of looking back at his time and getting all the crisis stuff out of the way. Now Constantine's like, get your ass to South America, boy. Here's our titular hero here.
So fucking cool.
Because yeah, we're kind of seeing this end of the world scenario get through that Constantine keeps harping on, and we're still focused on that. And then this cool B plot comes in, which I really like, and it pays off more as time goes on. But essentially, this little greaseball here
Yeah.
snaps some pics of Swamp Thing and his old lady getting frisky, and sells the pictures to a local newspaper, which will just be sure, And it doesn't seem like much now, but it becomes a very big deal later.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Swamp Thing, he's going
So cool.
going south to South America to talk to the Parliament of Trees, which
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just another way of kind of fleshing out the green, where all these different iterations of tree monsters, swamp people from the past have kind of shared the same origin story and
Yeah.
are they're basically, this is their retirement home. It's like once you get done swamping, you come here, you hang out with us, and we just experience nothingness.
Yeah. Which I thought
And
was actually really sweet
yeah,
sounding. It sounded very
absolutely.
nice.
And
Yeah.
of course, Swamp Thing's like, no, I'm not done yet. I got my old lady to do, and
Yeah.
we got this end of the world thing to deal with. And the trees seem pretty neutral, like they don't want to get
Yeah.
involved or whatever. Here's our photos, just setting up the next beeline. Now, yeah, we're getting into this cult that's essentially bringing uh, the end of the world.
John Toddleben, man, he killed it in this issue.
Yes, and he's an inker on most of Bissette's stuff,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and so Bissette's just in and out of this series.
Is he doing is this the Tyrant era?
Oh, that's a good question. I think Tyrant was 90s,
90s?
if I'm
Oh,
not
man.
mistaken. But yeah, I guess essentially he's just not the guy you want on your monthly books. He ends up doing just the covers. He is the guy you would want, but he's not necessarily the guy. I think his work just isn't compatible with the schedule of monthly publishing. Hence, this whole series, you have guest artists and whatnot. But yeah, I think having this guy, the inker, sort of take over makes it not so jarring. Like all this kind of stuff we've seen before,
Yeah.
those blur lines, which work really well. And yeah, basically this cult is dwelling in South America in Vuche, which is I know as this really good black metal band. If you ever,
Oh,
if you ever
sick.
want to check out the early '90s Invunche demos, they've been collected. They're really good.
Fuck yeah.
Anywho, they're appropriately doing a little cult action. They're working with some brujeria. I guess
Yeah.
it's from Chilean mythology. I meant to dig more into it, but kind of
This
got
was
sidetracked.
also something I noticed later. This
Oh
is the
yeah,
map of or this is like America, right?
yeah, and they're just kind of casting spells over it to
Yeah.
some degree, which
So wild.
is supposed to explain all the madness that's been happening.
Dude, how about this whole sequence though?
Yeah, this chick is like there to kind of be turned into this bird of
Mm-hmm.
ill omen who
Mm-hmm.
summons, the darkness at the end. Um, yeah, pretty solid like event building, because of course the annual like is where you really see all the action go down. But good horror, very like Clive Barker, very in its
Yeah.
time, but really satisfying. And of course, like I think there's some gimmick where Swamp Thing can't penetrate it because there's like this absence of life, but he gets smuggled in with this little flower that they use, and then it's kind of where he gets to fight that weird disjointed person, and they change her head into a bird. This is like real horror.
It is dark. It is
Yes.
so dark.
And the beeline is still going on at home, and they arrest her ultimately for being a chlorosexual. Good covers, I think, throughout these.
Yeah.
And now it's just like stop the cult, and we're
We do like a time jump.
Constantine is gathering all his all his mystics. So and then Swamp Thing is going into this, I don't know, whatever the afterlife dimension is that he has access
Purgatory or
to.
something.
Sure, and we've seen him have access to it before, so we're
Yeah.
kind of going back in there. That's where the bird is going. They're trying to stop the bird, and spoilers, they don't make it happen, but they're getting the team together. Like this is such, I don't know, just conventional like team building,
Yeah.
like leading up to a big climax kind of storytelling. And it's nice to see after all those single issues that are just like, here's a spooky thing, here's a spooky thing, here's a spooky thing. And then it's like, well, here's this big old thing happening,
Yeah.
and we're going to take our time with it. We're going to get all the Justice League dark people, which of course they weren't called back then. We're going to get all our mystics together. We're going to, and I kind of didn't understand that necessarily, because they were like, all the mystics, Atana and all them, they get together to have this.
It's like a watch party, basically.
Yeah, but they're just like, they go through a lot to make this happen.
Yeah.
But they're just trying to like watch it, see it.
Well,
What the hell is it going to do for you guys?
There's one line where they go, this I don't remember his name, but he channels all of their power to the demon. But that's the only one.
There we go.
They don't channel.
Well, I guess you want him powered up.
Yeah.
And going back to Cain and Abel from the House of Mysteries and Secrets, and they're sort of like introducing this big event. And this is we got Beset back on the helm for the big one.
I was gonna ask you, who is this guy? Who's Tom Mandrake? Because they do a special thanks to Tom Mandrake.
That's a good question.
I wonder if he was called in last minute to do some stuff.
Yeah, or maybe he had like invented some of the characters or something. But Beset's just killing it on this. All these like super monsters and demons. It's like this is what we tune in for Beset for.
This was a return to form for me.
Absolutely.
I think this was actually I didn't like the Alcala Constantine, to be honest. I thought he went too far off. I do like the Sting look.
Yeah.
It fits the character a lot.
But yeah, this character redesign of what do you call it? Of the demon Etrigan, where he has these sick, gross little bugs as armor.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's armored up with live.
This is so hard. Like these kind of Four Horsemen adjacent ideas. I mean, again, I'm just like taken back to like putting Masters of the Universe figures on top of like Panthers and stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know if kids were reading this comic necessarily, but like this is the intro to Ghostbusters right here. This is like
100%.
everything you love about the 80s is like on display, and everything that made the 80s effective in terms of like just cool character design and
It's
the tone and
here.
everything. It's so good. It's great art. And, you know, essentially Etrigan's leading his like elite demons against the darkness because he knows that the darkness is like the end of time, kind of. And other demons are like, no, he's evil. It's cool. I like it. And it's, I think, yeah, the darkness just absorbs them and it's like, what's the meaning of life? Or ask them a question and they have to answer it, and he doesn't like any of their answers until, of course, the great Swamp Thing gets in there.
That was the coolest part to me of this whole run. And this felt like, I just watched The Orphanage last night.
Okay.
And that's like a Del Toro
yeah.
joint somehow. But this felt very Del Toro to me.
Yeah, what is evil?
Yeah.
He explains it to him. He doesn't like the answer, spits them out with all gunked up.
So fucking sick.
And
what did Deadman do this whole time, actually?
He's part of it. He's in the mix. Here's our, our, what would you call it? Seance attendees, all kind of sitting in the circle. And like, this is wild. The guy gets set on fire from like too much psychic energy, and they're just like, hold the line. We really got to power up Etrigan.
We need to see what's going down.
And yeah, the Spectre can't deal with it, and Spectre's like,
he's a god.
I don't know how big his power levels are at this point. Like, I know they ramp him up to where now it's just like you see the Spectre.
In the DC universe, I know in like the Marvel universe, like alpha level mutants are like godlike.
Yeah.
Would he would probably have to be an alpha
or
level.
Yeah, he's in like celestial territory, if I'm not mistaken. But again, these are all kind of developments in time. I don't know if he's necessarily at this point.
This whole sequence, I thought, was like, that was just fucking cake, man. It was so good.
Perhaps evil is the humus formed by virtue's decay, and perhaps it is from that dark, sinister loam that virtue grows strong. That virtue grows strongest. So essentially, he's saying that evil is this thing that gives way to virtue, and that virtue is this thing that fights evil. So it's kind of saying it's like a yin and yang thing. And this is where, like, we've kind of just been going through plot-wise, but like, this is some Alan Moore shit here, where you have this giant build-up to this grand monster. You show how scary he is. You show how powerful he is. And ultimately, he gets defeated by a conversation. Yeah. And Alan Moore loves doing this. And I do not get sick of seeing it play out beat for beat like that. And, just here's our yin and yang, right? The darkness and the light. And I guess this is supposed to be like God, which, let's not get into there. Right. But ultimately that balance is met again. And our boy here is kind of fried mentally. And we kind of leave it off with a little gag of Cain and Abel again, which eternally works. And that's volume 4. After this, we got 5.
I'm so hyped, man.
Then there's 6, and then we're out of the swamp, at least for the time being. And I don't know. I like this side of Alan Moore. I haven't revisited these in a long time. I'd be lying if I said they were like the most compelling or like immediately enjoyable. I just think that they get the job done, and they're above par. Like, again, he's working with other characters. He's working in continuity. He's like really just a monthly gun for hire kind of, but operating at such an elevated level that even if he's not like reinventing the wheel necessarily, his heart's in it. He's getting the paychecks. Yeah. He's giving the people what they want. And that's something that Alan Moore kind of loses, like he's not expected to do that because, like, his reputation is so beyond. Like, you would never see him now. I don't even think he does comic. After he did that huge, I think it's Bethlehem, if I'm not mistaken, he wrote this huge book. And then he's like, I'm out of comics. I'm just going to write books now. So,
respect.
We lost him.
I think with the treatment that he got throughout the years, think it's
between
valid.
the treatment, between where the medium is now, between his
Yeah.
abilities. It's like Jerusalem or Bethlehem, one of those. I got the books. I've never read them because I like comic books.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to it. I have it. I will read it eventually. But yeah, I like this side of Alan Moore, and it's a neat chapter in his bibliography because it's just long. It keeps going and going, and it's not like a singular story. It's not like he
Yeah.
had one idea he had to get out of his system. He was coming up with new shit every month, and I feel like he was having fun.
It definitely feels like from it's somewhere in between Watchmen and Tom Strong to me.
Right.
And it does have the same Alan Moore qualities, but where he's kind of tipping his hat more to like the actual comic fan.
Yeah, I think there is social commentary and there is like crazy crap stuff going on. It's not as obsessive as Watchmen. I don't know if any of his work, now that I really think about it, is as panel to panel fixated as Watchmen is, and maybe it doesn't need to be. Maybe you do that to prove you can do it, and then you can just kind of tell the different kind of stories you feel like telling, And this is him as a comics fanboy, telling like DC continuity month to month, probably as mainstream of superheroes as you can get, as he gets, like I don't think you really could get him to do like Batman or do a long run on anything. He still has to kind of play in his own world. I think it would be weird to expect him to do otherwise, but there's just this really nice complementing of this kind of character, the pre-Vertigo landscape, the direct market existing. It all kind of comes together, and I don't know. I love this stuff. I think maybe it's more along the lines of like Frank Miller's work, where it's like this is really good top shelf superhero comics, but it is still superhero comics.
Yeah,
I think the snobs would be turned off in a way that like From Hell probably won't turn them off, and even Watchmen won't turn them off. I think Swamp Thing would turn off the snobs.
I think so too. It leans less in that indie sphere than I think like even Watchmen does. Watchmen is niche, but not. It's
it's the fact that it's self-contained and that there's that it isn't really tied to continuity or lore or any of that, which is the stuff that I think throws a lot of indie comics people off. They have to know what version of which Flash is going to show up, and all that stuff. I think just gives the Fantagraphics crowd, of which I consider myself a member, kind of a headache. But that's why Alan Moore to me is like my favorite comics writer, because he kind of has a foot in both worlds. He appeals to my sensibilities both as someone who got into comics by reading The Punisher, and also loves Hate and 8-Ball and Donald Duck books and Peanuts, and I as someone who just appreciates comics as a medium, I think Alan Moore is a writer who kind of scratches all my itches. I get everything from him, and this is a great series. It doesn't get bad. It's I like to see it. It's a side of Alan Moore that you don't necessarily get out the box, but it's in the totality of his bibliography, I do really appreciate it.
This probably wouldn't land in your like top 3, right? Like, but this is I would say, is it fair to say that this is kind of like a transition into the Alan Moore at his full?
Well, it's kind of a transition in comics, It's that pre-Vertigo line. These are on DC, like this anticipates and really paves the way for Preacher, literally Hellblazer, Sandman, all these comics that kind of define the 90s and like, really create sort of a transition for mainstream comics fans into indie when there was those kind of really hard defining lines. Um, I think those don't exist without these. And I think they're definitely better than like the 2000 AD stuff, which I almost consider like supplemental. In a way, I like a earnest Alan Moore. I like an optimistic Alan Moore. I like a positive Alan Moore. If anything, just because when we do get into eventually, like, let's say Miracle Man or, some of the later works, it's like can be really bleak. And I think what an artist isn't that interesting if they're one-sided, if they're so singular in their vision, if everything is edgy, 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 or if everything is kawaii, soft style, it's just not engaging. There's few artists, maybe like Junji Ito, let's say. His comics are very on the nose, and they are really, really top rate, and they are one thing. So there's always exceptions, but generally speaking, like my top comics guys have range, and so
that's definitely one thing that I find intriguing in Alan Moore is that the range of comics that we've read so far, that he has a voice, he has something to say in each one of them, and also like there's depth to each one of them.
Yes, and they're, when we get to From Hell, which I'm sure we'll get to, like that's completely night and day to Supreme, and like which is night and day to Miracle Man. Like it's the body of work, I guess, that gives such intrigue, and I think Swamp Thing is a pretty important part of it. Again, maybe it's maybe transitional is the word for it, because he is getting sort of out of that 2000 AD, out of the month to month, out of the continuity, and kind of into something that's a little more him. I wouldn't say. I mean, ironically, this is happening while Watchmen is coming out, so it's maddening that like his runoff is still, I would say like one of the best comics of the 80s, particularly from the big two. And this is like the afterbirth of, that's monumental work.
Insane.
Completely.
That is insane to think about, that this man was working, and all of these guys, they were working on, and ladies, on just monumental series that is 30, 40 years later still a fucking high bar.
Yeah, I mean, to a less acclaim, I guess there's like, John Byrne, like the amount of series he was working on and writing and doing month to month, it's like astonishing. And he was putting out like, really iconic books and stories, and also Alpha Flight all at the same time.
I want to look into John Byrne. That's another blind spot in my comics.
I think his She-Hulk, you will fall in love with that character and like John Byrne's style. I think that's him at his peak, in my opinion. And he's great. But also, we're off track. I don't mean to pit two bad bitches against each other. But Alan,
you hate to do it.
Yes, but John Byrne can really only do fanboy stuff. He is so deep in comics.
He's the cog in the machine guy, right?
He's like the best cog. He's like the highest functioning cog. He's a cog that, maybe doesn't revolutionize things, but like
we saw it in OMAC.
He's which was created by Jack Kirby,
he killed it in that. Honestly,
he does not do bad work at all. But he also isn't going to do From Hell. He also isn't going to, do a lot of research on Victorian city layouts and stuff. and he's not going to bring in concepts like Chilean death cults. He's going to give you the heroes you love to see doing heroic shit.
So that is like I think where, well, I don't know. I like guys like, obviously we've said it on the podcast, like we love the Los Bros,
right?
And they have internalized comics lore, but also they have such a far reach into other spaces of like the Archie. I've just read that like their mom would have them read like a bunch of comics from Mexico, a bunch of like books,
right?
And maybe that's like it's. I find it so cool that it those things exist at the same time,
right,
in this era.
And but Bros Hernandez can tell grown-up stories, for lack of better words, and like, there's a lot of top-rate, like some of my favorite comics artists that cannot, for the life of them, draw a good story or tell a good story that doesn't have guys with their underwear outside of their pants in it, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. But again, that's why we keep going back to our man, because he'll give you the guys with the underwear, but he'll also bring in the Chilean death cults and the metaphysical psychedelic yams and all these other kind of things. And that's why, and like, I think all this, as we dive into the Alan Moore catalog and I revisit a lot of this stuff, like that's kind of where we're going to see our guy go, is just the diversity of stories that he tells and the quality, and it's always on point. And yeah, that's why we're getting into volume 5 next.
And so I see volume 5. I'm fucking hyped on this, and this is now Vertigo proper.
Is this not? Yeah, I guess so. Like it crosses over. Let's take a look at some covers in here, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe.
Oh shit!
Bissette's still doing the covers, which is awesome. I usually kind of
cool.
That pissed me off when I was young, when you'd see like someone good doing the cover, but the internal art's good too. I think we're still on. Maybe it's just that the Vertigo published the publications.
Oh, so these are,
because we're still like,
okay.
I guess I don't know if maybe it was like DC, but the Comics Code just like was issued. Not to spoil too much of the story here, but
what the fuck?
Yeah, we're still DC. So
oh shit, man!
I don't know why Vertigo got to republish them, but regardless, it's Vertigo in spirit. So with that, we will see you guys next week. At ease.